Hi, my name is Shane Cook and I'm sitting here in the Hornsby Mall talking to Councilor Mick Marr, that's M-A-R-R.
That's right, Mick Marr, M-A-R-R. There's various ways to spell it, I'm told, but I've only ever spelt it M-A-R-R, and I'm told that there's a lot of, most people with M-A-R-R at the end of their name is related somehow, and they all seem to have a lot more money than I do, I can tell you.
That's always the case.
It's always the case.
Now, before I go into your council duties, I've always seen you write, I've always read your letters in the local newspapers, The Advocate, for example, The Chronicle. Yep. What was that all about? Oh,
well, there were various issues. I've always been an advocate for people in Hornsby, and especially those in the north-east section of Hornsby Shire, not the west, not the other areas. And the areas I've covered many minor points, but I think one of the main points has been a fair distribution of the resources. Also to engage the community in some of the decision making. I believe that sometimes the community hadn't been engaged. This council is a lot more engaged than the other council. I've also been pushing for some of the, as part of this fair distribution of resources, I've been pushing for...
We are talking about your letter writing at the moment.
Letter writing, yes.
I'm going to come to the council.
Yeah, well, basically it just extended onto the council. I've always been pushing for a Barara pool. Trying to get some sort of a swimming facility in Barara.
Has that been successful, by the way?
No, not yet. Still working on that one.
Years later?
Years later, I could, being a member of council now...
So before you go there, is that why you got yourself elected to council?
That's part of the reason. I got elected. I wanted to have it that people had more of a say, that there was a fair distribution of the resources. There was people had a say in what facilities they had in their area. They should have a say. They shouldn't be told, like Barara did 30 years ago. They said, you're going to have a great big community centre, and you're going to pay for it. That's what we were told, and we did. We paid for the Barara Community Centre.
I recall that. Yeah.
And no one else paid for their community centre, but they did. They did, with the Barara people did, and it's the biggest community centre in Hornsby Shire, I'm led to believe.
I think you're absolutely correct. There's a big swimming pool up there at Galston. That must have cost a lot of money.
Yeah, well, we did. Well, that was actually paid for again by a levy of people, of the residents of A Ward. So we all paid for that. Yeah, we paid a levy in those days. And the same as we paid a levy for Hornsby Pool. So we all paid a levy for Hornsby Pool.
That's right, I recall that.
Yep. And actually, we actually had some money put aside for Barara Pool, and then when they decided that they weren't going to have Barara Pool, they used that money for Hornsby Pool as well.
Is that right?
Yeah. That's the way it goes.
I think we've all wondered how that occurred.
Yeah, I wonder. I'm still wondering, and I'm still asking questions.
Just to back up, how long have you been on council?
I've been on council a bit over 2 years. We've got the council elections coming up.
And what ward are you in?
I'm in A Ward.
A Ward, yep.
I got elected on council because there was, at the time, there was we're being involved in the council amalgamations. We were to amalgamate with Ku-ring-gai Council.
Oh yes, yep.
And we were to give a certain amount, Epping, basically to Parramatta Council. But unfortunately, we ended up giving Epping to Parramatta, and then Ku-ring-gai Council didn't want us in their council, and the merger was called off at the last minute, and then we had council elections. Normally the councils are 4-year council elections, but we're only doing 3 because...
Is that because of that?
And that's because of that, yes.
So when are the elections on?
Around September.
September, okay. Now, prior to council, you were involved in many other things. Was it kickboxing or...?
I did. I trained boxing at PCYC. I taught Taekwondo for a long time.
At the PCYC?
At the PCYC, I taught everywhere. I taught at Barara, I taught at Hornsby, I went down to Turramurra, I had classes everywhere. I taught schools, and we taught self-defence. I did a psychology degree at uni and did some training in behaviour and counselling and those sorts of things. And so we were doing all that because as pointed out by your excellent cameraman over there, that you're far better off learning self-defence by not getting involved in it at all, and not teaching people how to fight. You're better off teaching them how not to get in the situation in the first place, which is what I used to teach, as well as backup. I call it backup.
We had a bit of fun with that this evening, actually.
Yes, I heard about it. I saw that and heard about that.
So how long did you do that for?
Oh, I've been doing it.
Or are you still doing it?
I still train myself.
Yep.
Yes. Probably 50 years, I suppose. I'm 69, 68. So I've been doing it most of my life in some way. But what I did when I was young was I actually learnt many sorts of martial arts and all those other sorts of things, but I never really learned any of them very well. So I learned how to do lots of things, but none of them were very well. And then I stuck to one, which was Taekwondo, and then from there I did boxing, and then from there I started to learn them reasonably well. I won a couple of titles in various styles, and yeah, went from there, yeah.
What do you think tonight we have the sunset sessions?
Yep.
What do you think about that?
I think it's great.
So do I.
think it's really good. Gets people out, gets them all engaged and moving around and mixing with each other and mixing with people they may never mix with. Or
That's right,
with,
exactly.
Which I think is really great, especially in Hornsby, where I think I go to most of the community, citizenship ceremonies.
Yep.
And I think we've got something like 30% of the population have an ethnic background of some form, you know. So it's really important to engage everyone.
Well, I came to the one last week,
Yep.
which is why I decided to come here tonight and do the recordings.
Yeah.
And I thought last week was fantastic.
Yeah.
Sometimes we go to these shows and the acts aren't all up to scratch.
Yeah.
But these ones have been very good.
I haven't been to a lot this year because I've had a few other things to do, but they're always very professional, always well attended.
I notice you're enjoying your pizza.
I do. Lovely pizza, yes. Pizza and a beer, enough can't beat it. Can only have a light beer because I've got to drive, so I can only have one light beer before I go home. So
well, they got their own bar here.
They've got their own bar. Yep.
Pizza making facilities, other things.
Yeah, got
right
great.
alongside the Blue Water Grill.
Yep.
Doesn't get much better than that.
No, it's great, and it attracts people. That's really
It
good.
does, yeah. One of the good things about it, and we have a good weather too.
Yeah,
so
beautiful.
what's the future hold for you?
Well, the future,
What are your plans?
My plans are to think about whether I'm going to run for council again. And
Well, I think you should.
well, yes, but I'm still making my mind up. So, and
Is there family involved in this?
well, the family are a bit more supportive this time than they were last time. And my wife was very apprehensive about it. I mean, she said, yeah, it's okay, but she's not as apprehensive this time. And my son says, well, what else are you going to do now? You know,
Good on you.
But I still haven't made my mind up. I have had some people who have offered me a few or discussed a few things like maybe changing my Taekwondo style, and that's because I've stopped doing that. But maybe doing ageless Taekwondo or something like that, where you get older people to do stuff, because I'm getting on a bit myself, you probably noticed.
No, not at all.
And
I think we're about the same age.
We probably are. And doing something for a bit softer, like kung fu or something, or Tai
Do you
Chi
have
or
hobbies other than?
hobbies? I'm a bush regenerer. I'm a really a real supporter of sustainability too.
Good on you.
We used to open our house at Sustainable House Day. It was actually Hornsby Council that suggested that many years ago. Won a couple of garden competitions. House been on TV. Got a garden on the roof.
Is that right?
Yep.
We're doing the interview in the wrong place.
We are. Well, you can come up to my garden anytime on the roof, and I've recycled a lot of stuff and everything else. So yeah, it's a good house, and it's reasonably warm in winter, but it's really cool in summer.
Nice.
Which is good, especially with it's heating up now. I've noticed hotter summers, and it's very pleasant house to live in.
How long have you had a house like that? Is it did you buy it and build it up yourself?
No, I built it myself. It was my testing ground.
Yeah.
I grew up rough, and I'd always lived in flats and everything else, so I'd never really lived in a real house or ever had a real house. And then when my wife and I, we lived in a caravan for a few years. Then we got a little fibro place in Barara. No, we got a block of land first. No one will give us any money to build a house on it. And then we bought the little fibro house in Barara. Then we sold that, and I built the house, and we made it out of concrete and all these lot of recycled materials and stuff like that. And turned out really good, really good.
I think I've seen your house photos.
Yes, there's been some photos
in the Bush Telegraph.
Yeah, it's won a few. It's won a few.
Won a few awards.
Things, yeah. And as I said, it used to be open on Sustainable House Day. Been on television. They took it on television, but this is all many years ago. We haven't done anything with it since. But I am a member of various environmental groups, and we're definitely trying to make some changes. Not easy with Hornsby Council. We've had a few motions not passed relating to climate change and action and stuff, but that's all right. We're working on it. They are doing something. They are making some operational changes to try and to reduce it, so that's good. That's good, and we're still working on that. That's a work in progress.
When we were chatting before, you were telling me that when you left school you couldn't write too good or couldn't read too good?
No, I couldn't write very well at all, actually. I could read, I could just read, but writing was like a mystery. It was like maths. It was like a mystery. I'd had a bit of a disruptive child. We come from a broken family, and you know the usual story, and we're hearing a lot about it now, about violence, all that other sort of stuff. We moved around a lot, and we had to move and change around, and I think I went to about 12 primary schools before I went to high school, which was Ascot Boys High School, and 3 of those were institutions: Yasmar, Englewood and Mittagong.
Oh, Mittagong, yep. Yep.
And so they were people for where they put not so much naughty boys, but boys who wouldn't go to school and wouldn't do what they were told.
Boys will be boys.
Boys will be boys, yes. So from there, I think the best thing that happened to me was meeting my lovely wife and getting educated, etc., etc. I know I worked as a floor layer, and I had to learn to do a few measurings. I've had lots of jobs, but I did a trade as a floor layer. Then I did a...
Oh, okay, yep.
And then I sort of got to know these couple of people in the service station industry. I used to ride motorbikes, and you can see my leg there, you can see the result of that. And I was good at my hands, and so he said, why don't you become an apprentice mechanic even though you're a bit older? So I became a mechanic, but I couldn't go to TAFE because I couldn't do the stuff.
I'm going to interrupt. You must have some fans because there's some people walking past waving at you, but you're so busy talking to me.
Yeah, I didn't see him, no.
Sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, and so I had to do the mechanics. I had to go into the North Sydney TAFE and or St Leonard's TAFE, Gore Hill, and I had to do a practical exam, you know, and that took it took a couple of days to do that before I could get my licence. But I was a licensed mechanic. Then I worked in I worked in the building industry as well. I did lots of building and stuff. Then
So if you had trouble reading and writing, how did you overcome that?
I read a lot and I wrote a lot, and my wife was a very, very academically very good, and she helped me. And then I
noticed she works for New South Wales Health.
Yeah, she did her training up there as a nurse at Hornsby Hospital.
Oh, okay.
And still works there today.
Still works there.
Still there because my daughter's a nurse. She's a nursing unit manager up there at Royal North Shore in recovery, I think she is. And my other son is an environmental scientist. My other daughter's a graphic designer. So they're all well. They're all doing well, and they're all educated. You know.
So your wife helped you?
My wife helped me learn to write. Not read so much, but definitely helped me to write.
So I noticed the Hornsby Council chambers are right alongside TAFE.
Yeah.
Does Hornsby Council get involved in helping people overcome their problems with, say, education or reading and writing?
I don't.
Because I think I was saying to you before, you're the third person I've met in the last few days. 2 of them couldn't read or write, and 1 of them couldn't write.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if they're involved in it. I do know they're involved in youth, and we're trying to involve youth. I don't think we're actively involved in the education side of it. So, But it's all turned out good. I've had a few talks with police. I went and had a talk to Ascot Boys High School.
Okay.
And what we pointed out there was that even if you're not well educated, you can make it. You can still get there. And you know, I've finished a degree, and I've done 3 diplomas in conservation. I did one in building, I did one in counselling, and I did a degree in psychology. And anyone can get there. So if you come out of school and you're not well educated, you can still do it.
Hear that, guys?
You can still do it.
You still do it.
Yep.
And girls.
And girls. And I was actually at the library having a talk. With a talk, they have talks in the library.
Oh, okay.
And one of these things was Jack Charles, I think his name was. Don't quote me on that, I might have got it wrong. And he was an Aboriginal guy, and he was very similar. He came from a violent background. He ended up in jail, couldn't read and write properly, couldn't get along with. Well, he did. He actually got along with people. He could get along with people.
Yep.
That was a strong point of his. And he became got a master's degree in whatever it is. He's now in films and producing and all these other sorts of things, and he's a real success.
Good on him.
And it was really good. But telling about his life, when he told us about his life in jail and all that other sort of stuff, you know.
He's a local fella?
No.
Reasonably local, or?
No, he's been on TV. He's a TV. Jack Charles. I'd have to get the book to find out exactly what the name of it is.
Okay, yeah. I have no idea. I think I know the show you're talking about.
Jack Charles. And
yeah.
Or Charles Jack. And
well, it just goes to show education is what it's all about. I mean, of course, there are some that make it, but it's very rare.
That's right.
Oh.
That's right.
And tell me, what's the future hold for you?
The future? Who knows?
I think I've asked that before, but we'll ask again.
I might run for council again, but then I might not. I might go and maybe kick up again and do a little bit of taekwondo. I've had lots of people ask me to do some building work for them. Who knows?
I think you should stay on council, but that's just my biased opinion.
Well, not everyone wants me to stay on council, especially the other guys.
Well, we need people on council that are down to earth, who can actually talk to people that don't, you know, walk around in their suits and go, I don't want to talk to this person. I'll be, my cameraman David and me, we've been doing this sort of stuff around the Hornsby Council area for many, many years. We've done many shows. Yeah. And believe you me, we've come up against everybody. Yeah. You know. And you're probably the easiest bloke I've spoken to from council. Philip Ruddock's fantastic. I got on well with him.
I get along well with him pretty well.
I interviewed him on radio many years ago.
Yeah.
A couple of the other councillors, but you're probably the easiest I've been able to chat with. Some of them give me a list of what they want me to say and what I cannot say. Yeah. But you haven't, so thankfully.
Happy. I hope I haven't said anything bad.
No, it's been good. Look, thank you very much for talking to us. We'll wrap it up. I'll have to give you a left-handed shake because I'm holding the microphone with the right hand.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Maybe we can do it again one day.
Maybe we can. You got my card.
I've got your I've got your card. So you're with Shane Cook talking to Mick Marr from Hornsby Council. Thanks for watching.